Hello. It's so great to be here, and it's lovely to see all those familiar names in the chat. Welcome to the Vintage Read Show. We're going to have a lovely episode. We're going to celebrate Prince William's birthday. We're going to tap into the real vibe that was Royal Ascot this year, and also probably at the end of the show, we're going to have a little bit of a giggle about dirty feet and crepes in a box, but that's right at the end of the show. But there is breaking news. There is actually a Daily Mail exclusive that popped up about 2 hours ago. So we might as well just have a quick little look at it. I don't think it's worth spending too much time on, but we'll have a little look anyway. And it's this one, which is Prince Harry will extend an olive branch to King Charles and Prince William by inviting them to the next INVICTUS Games. Now, that doesn't really surprise me, but of course, the announcement, putting it out in the media, it's all about attention, isn't it? It's all about clickbait, and it does very well for them, I would imagine. However, there is a serious aspect to this. Well, thank you, Koala Blues. I told you weren't allowed to do that anymore. But thank you very much. Yes, this is very layered. This is very, very layered. I wrote down a few little notes. There is a level of sort of Machiavellian manipulation when it comes to this invitation. Now, obviously, if we look at the pros and cons, we have clear pros for the Melodramacito duo, which is obvious because they're going to get a photo op with the king. And they'll be able to live off that in their little grifting universe for a few years, I would imagine. That's going to fuel them for quite a few years. So there's that. There is a very distinct advantage having that photo op at the INVICTUS Games with the king. But then there's this other side of it, like I said, the Machiavellian sort of manipulation where they've put out the invitation. I believe they really have. And the whole purpose of that is so that they can't be knocked back because it's too far in advance. How you know that the King and Prince William pretty much says every time that Harry's popped over to the UK, oh, so sorry, we've got something else on that was planned about 6 months ago. But now they're going to have to say they've got something else on that was planned in more than a year. So it's very hard to knock this back. Also, we have the consideration that you've got the UK taxpayers. I mean, obviously it's supposed to be all sort of self-funded and everything, but you've got security, you've got, it's going to cost the UK taxpayer. Now, come on, we all know it will. Also, you've got the factor that the King is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces in the UK, and it is the Armed Forces that are very invested in this event, very invested in this occasion. It's a tough one. It's really a case of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Now, emotional sentiment for me is don't go near it because I don't see the pros for the palace. However, there are definite cons too because it's going to look whether, I'm talking about idiots, people that don't know what's really going on. I'm talking about people that don't realise the level of manipulation that is underpinning this. And people, not a lot of people, well, some people actually accept Harry's intentions as sincere. They're the same people in MSM that always praise him around the INVICTUS Games time and say, well, I'll give him credit though. You can't take the INVICTUS Games away from Harry. He did a good... Oh, no. What are you all saying? Yes, okay, now this is opinion coming in thick and fast. Susan F., I hope that the King and William say no thanks so that they insist they'll attend on a day when Harry isn't there. Good point. The unfortunate thing is, though, Susan, and I agree, that's actually quite clever, no matter what they do, it's going to look like they're being the petty ones because it will be framed in that way that they're being the petty ones. The other downside of this is that we're going to get at least a year of this lead up, this build up. And I expected that anyway, but now there's going to be this speculation. Will the king attend? I mean, they do have a little out because apparently when the finale's on for the Invictus Games, it's actually going to be Queen Camilla's 80th birthday. So they've got an out for the finale, but I would assume that they would need to attend probably then the opening ceremony. Do you think? I don't know. Do you think there's any advantages in it for the palace if they do it? Do you think that they may be able to minimise the advantage to Harry? But my sort of cynical opinion is that I don't really think that the palace wants to minimise the benefit to Harry. I mean, the time to take away the Invictus Games, I know the royal family doesn't have control over that. It's the Invictus Game Foundation. But I mean, it only takes a wink and a nod. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. In the corridors of power, it would take a wink and a nod and he would have been gone a few years ago. But now it's too late. And I'm sure that's why they decided that Birmingham was actually going to be the next Invictus Games, because it tied everyone's hands. The other question is, if the king does attend the opening ceremony, I don't think Prince William will go near it. I don't think he will at all. But if the king attends, will that mean that Ms. Markle is going to be all that much braver about coming over to the UK because she may use the king as cover against the inevitable booing, do you think? That wouldn't surprise me either. The other thing that might prevent them from getting booed would be if they actually had Archie and Lilibet on stage with them for the opening ceremony. If Meghan actually walked out with Archie and Lily, I know people get upset when I call her Lilibet. I'm sorry, but it's on the royal family website. She's been christened that. I'm sorry, but that's the case. But I will just call her Lily for the sake of everyone's blood pressure. Yes, she could walk out onto the stage with Lily and Archie, which would shield her. Just like Prince Harry used Invictus, used veterans, very brave veterans, when he accepted the award. He is good at using people as protection, isn't he? I'll see a few more other things. This is a good thought. This is quite clever, Ellie Anderson. Send Sir Tim and Princess Royal to Invictus. You are brilliant. You are absolutely brilliant. That is a win-win. And it has enough gravitas. It has enough, serious royal aura. But it's not as sexy, is it? It's not as sexy for the photo op. Oh, you're clever. I like that idea. I like the way you think. I do. And Granny Jude makes a really good point. A lot can happen in 2 years politically and health-wise. Well, then that's going to be even stickier in a way, isn't it, Granny Jude? Because if King Charles was, not in a fit state to attend the Invictus Games, then you've got the onus being on Prince William to fulfill the possible obligation, and that would be extremely difficult. If the king instructed Prince William to go, then he would go. And he's very good at pulling off that sort of diplomatic thing. But, I don't know. It's so difficult. It is really gobsmackingly difficult. So anyway, we will get on to some better news. And that is, I'm just going back because I was checking all my photographs and I've gone ahead of myself. So I've got to go back. And it's for this. It is not that. It is this one, and it's Prince William. Happy birthday to Prince William. And still my beating heart. What are they doing to me? Having Prince William and puppies in the same photograph? What are you trying to do to my blood pressure? I'm nearly swooning over that. But of course, all those gorgeous little pups. And they were born back in May. So it's a lovely thing that they actually shared it with us for his birthday. Now, I have it on good authority in one of the rags that there is no grand celebration for William's birthday. He spent the day privately in Windsor with Catherine, George, Charlotte and Louis, perhaps over a pint of cider. So there you go. But there was a fascinating article actually put out for his birthday, written by Roya Nika in the Times. And it's fairly sort of common occurrence whenever there is a birthday for William. There tends to be a very deep diving interview with the Times where they sort of lay out his agenda and his thoughts, and it's always very interesting, and it's always sources close to William who have been given the okay to actually talk to her, and so you know that's coming straight from the horse's mouth. This was actually the headline: how Prince William will change the monarchy by those close to him. So definitely not Harry, that was said. More Sophie and plenty of time with the kids. And also, he's turning 43. I can't believe it. He looks pretty good for 43, doesn't he? So this was an interesting quote. He wants to examine whether the institution he inherits is fit for purpose. Now, there was another quote. I've got a few little notes here, and I was quite surprised about this. He stresses that his reign will be an evolution, not a revolution. Well, that's good to hear because we don't want change too fast. We wanted, they actually said that they wanted any changes to just sort of seep into the public consciousness and actually not have the public too aware of it, because then that is the right rate of change. So they're very mindful not to sort of move too fast or do away with certain traditions that people love and rely on. But he said a rather strange thing, and I'll see what you think about it. He says, William has previously said, now I wasn't aware he said this, that his grandmother's approach to being head of state was to take more of a passive role, but subsequently indicated that approach would change during his reign, where there will be more private, robust, challenging of advice. Now, what they're talking about is the actual courtier's advice to the monarch. And it appears that William is not going to be quite so obliging. I don't think the Queen was obliging at all. I think she was measured. And I think that nothing really went by her that she didn't want to happen. I think she was very pragmatic. Can you imagine the difficulty of a lot of those decisions where you can't lead with your heart? You can't actually do what you might want to do, but you have to do what's best for the country and what's best for the monarchy. And sometimes it might really, really go against your personal wishes or your personal agenda. And it'll be interesting to see because William may have got that wrong. She may not have been passive at all. She may have been not showing her cards, not wearing her heart on her sleeve. That's what I suspect, because when I look back through many books, and I've read so many brilliant biographies on the Queen, and one thing that really comes through to me is that she was an incredibly strong woman. She had a lot of compassion, but she was also nobody's fool, and she wasn't easily swayed. She knew exactly who she was and what her role was. And I think Prince Philip really supported her in that too, in that sort of confidence. The other thing that was brought up in this article, which I found fascinating, which sort of leads on to something that I put up on Twitter today, was that they were pointing out that William obviously goes to the garden parties with Zara and Princess Eugenie and Beatrice, and they were saying that even though they're not officially working royals, it's obvious that William recognises their worth, their value in appearing at things like garden parties. And when I saw that, I thought, maybe we're going to see a few more on the balcony. And I thought that is not a bad thing. Now, I did put this up on X, and you are free to disagree with me. Many have disagreed with me on X, and they've actually made some really good points. I've been reading the points that disagree with me, and I've gone, yeah, I can actually see that. So I'm not going to read out the whole thing and bore you silly, but my main point was just the first paragraph, that Royal Ascot energy, extended family, girlfriends, cousins, in-laws, I'd like to capture it. I'd like to capture it in a bottle, the essence of it, and release it onto the balcony for major events, because I said it was fabulous, fun, and much needed. And then I sort of bagged out the only working royals policy, because it pretty much did come about due to the antics, of course, of Prince Andrew and having all his titles and things stripped, but also, of course, the difficult situation with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Now, I went back to check because I didn't want to just be mouthing off with my sort of recollections, which may vary, a bit sort of deviate from facts. So I went and looked up exactly what happened. The working royals only policy for Buckingham Palace was first implemented by Queen Elizabeth II for the Trooping the Colour event on June the 2nd, 2022. And of course, that was during her Platinum Jubilee celebrations, but it was her celebration for Trooping the Colour. Now, it was decided to limit the balcony appearances of members of the royal family only to those actively undertaking royal duties on behalf of the Queen, which effectively, as we know, excluded very smartly non-working royals such as Prince Harry, Meghan Markle and Prince Andrew. Now, that was obviously a solution to a very difficult problem. I remember that, the build up to that, and it was like, oh my goodness me, how are they going to get out of this one? Because there was an enormous pressure, and we have to remember, even though the Harkles are very much on the nose now, and they're really on the nose now. I mean, they've just slipped down to the very bottom as far as public regard go. But back then, back in 2022, there was still a fair bit of sympathy. I gotta say, there was a fair bit of sympathy, and there was even people that swallowed their line, completely. And they really felt that Meghan had been mistreated. There was a real section of society that really believed everything they were spinning. So it was more difficult to sort of bring in something like this back 3 years ago. The other aspect of it is the policy was formalised in 2022, but it's noted that it was reinforced by King Charles III, and it was actually in statements from Buckingham Palace in line for his coronation, which of course was May 6, 2023. Now, there were a few select non-working family members on the coronation balcony, the Duke of Kent and Princess Alexandra, due to their dedicated and dutiful long service. So you see how convoluted it is and how awkward it is, and how they've got to think of this and that and this, because they're always worried about, well, someone will come up with an out, a gap. Well, what about this then? The whataboutism will hit. And that's what made me think, isn't it time that the monarch issues invitations to people that he wants on the balcony because he desires them to be there, regardless of working or non-working? Do you get what I mean? Don't we have to be prepared to maybe insult some people or not have everyone agree with us on every decision we make? Because the Queen did. She made quite a few really unpopular decisions, and, she survived. People still loved her anyway. So I'll go to your comments now, and I'll see what you actually think about it. Everyone's talking about Princess Anne for Invictus and saying how perfect it would be. That was brilliant, Ali Anderson. It was actually really, really brilliant. This is funny. This is from Giselle. Not only are they on the nose, they're a couple of stinkers. Tell us what you really think, Giselle. That's funny. That's funny. Okay, so there's not many sort of balcony comments yet, so I'll go ahead and I'll come back. Now, I wanted to show you something because this is really interesting. This is back in 2016. Now, you can't really see just how many there were, so I'll take you to the full shot, which I'm sorry is really bad resolution because I'd have to pay the copyright if I got the high resolution shot. But this is the alarmy, copyright, rather sort of faded shot. But the reason I'm showing it for you is 40 people were on that balcony. Can you believe it? And that was for the Queen's 90th birthday. 40 people. And when I see that, it just fills me with joy and interest. I'm not talking about flower sprinkles joy in a jar. I'm talking about real joy, people. And I just think it looks great and interesting. And there's, what I loved about that really, really crowded balcony? I love the fact that there would be people at the back not paying attention, not being perfect, having a great time. You could tell that many of the younger royals had had a few, maybe a glass of bubbles before they came out onto the balcony. And of course, all the dutiful, proper royals in the middle and at the front were, of course, and of course, the Queen, front and centre, were obviously doing the right thing and being very dignified and paying attention when they should. But I just love that sort of boisterous family atmosphere where it's not perfect. There's a little bit of chaos in very large families, and I'm here for it. I love it. Now, it's very interesting that due to, all the situation with Meghan and Harry and that, of course, we have the girl gang. Now, I love this shot at the time. So it was Savannah and Isla Phillips and, of course, the Tyndall girls back then, Mia and Lena. And this was, of course, the 2022 only working royals on the balcony situation. Now, if it hadn't been for Harry and Meghan and possibly Prince Andrew, they probably would have been able to go on the balcony. But can you see the difference between 2016 and 2022? And then we had Witchy Poo, Wicked Witch of the West, oh no, here comes Aunt Meghan. There she was getting her photo op at the window and Savannah thinking that she's an absolute idiot. You can also see that Savannah's looking at her dad, I think, at the back. And I think everybody, wouldn't have all the royals, I'm not even trying to be mean, I'm just being fair dinkum, all the royals would have looked at that in the newspaper the next day and just sniggered to themselves. What a desperate character she is. I mean, fancy coming up to the window just to get your photo in the paper and to do that exaggerated shush thing and acting like she's Aunt Meghan. Oh, it's just sickening. It's just awful. And you could just, anyway, yes, definitely Witchy Poo. We could win Witch of the West. Oh dear. I think I would just love to hear what the now teenage girls would be saying behind the scenes. I could imagine it would be quite amusing. Then we have Trooping the Colour 2025, which we know, and it was lovely. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but look at the contrast between the 40 on the balcony and this. And I find that I'm appreciative of all the lovely photographs. I'm appreciative of the tradition and the pomp and circumstance and the wonderful images that we see and the historical relevance of that. I appreciate all that. I genuinely do. But I also get a little bit sort of, I have a yearning, people. I have a yearning for something that looks a little bit more like this. I'm not talking about top hats. I'm not talking about the fact that, William in a top hat is absolutely to die for, and let's all just take a moment to enjoy, shall we? But I'm not talking about that. I'm not being shallow. I'm talking about a vibe. The Royal Ascot vibe. Now, I wanted to bring up Sophie. She had several gorgeous outfits at Royal Ascot. And I think my favourite is the one on the right. I think that's just absolutely divine. I didn't bother going back and trying to remember which day each outfit was because I just couldn't be bothered, quite frankly. But I just took photos of the ones that I really, really loved. Now, this is the vibe I'm talking about. And it's warmth. It's connection, it's fun, it's genuine delight to be with each other. Do you see what I'm talking about? It's fantastic. Now, we used to have that at the back of the balcony or at the sides of the balcony. Obviously, people at the front row had to behave themselves and would be very dignified and wouldn't put a foot wrong. But there used to be a bit of a vibe at the back of the balcony. There did. And this, Carol Middleton with the King. I love this shot. Good on you, Carol. Gee, she's an attractive woman, isn't she? I mean, you can see why Catherine is such a beautiful, beautiful woman because look at her mother. I mean, stunning. But I just love this. I love that connection. I love the fact that the in-laws get on. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. The other thing, talking about in-laws, we should actually wonder, is Thomas Markle going to be invited to the Invictus Games, Harry? Be a good time if you're going to have that sort of reconciliation with the king. I think it would also be a good idea to have a reconciliation with Thomas Markle and give him a chance to redeem his reputation, invite him and put him in a good seat and have a nice photo up with him and his grandchildren, and put it all to bed. Let bygones be bygones. If they actually did that, I would have a little more sympathy for them when it came to having the king coming to the Invictus Games. If they wanted to put it all to bed and mend a few fences, well, if Thomas Markle was there, I think that would be a sincere act. Whether he would want to come or not, oh, what am I talking about? Shauna, gosh, that's ridiculous. A sincere act. What am I talking about? They would just be doing it for a photo op. Oh my goodness me. What am I talking about? You see, it's my romantic heart. I want everybody to be lovely and no, it's not going to happen. They wouldn't be doing it for sincere reasons. I loved this shot of Royal Ascot. I love the balloons on top of the tables. It's just such whimsy. I love it. It's gorgeous. And then we have this rather controversial photograph of the king kissing Sarah Ferguson's hand. And then I thought, well, Shauna, you can't have it both ways. If you want, that sort of boisterous, imperfect, messy family atmosphere, well, you're going to have to accept the good with the bad. And, if he wants to kiss Fergie's hand, well, that's part of it. Is it? I don't know. I'm so confused. I'm really confused. I mean, what's the line here? What's the line here? I thought it was quite sort of gallant of the king to kiss her hand. And of course, I think he kissed Eugenie's as well. But anyway, we'll move past that because that's a bit awkward. I don't know how to take that. So we'll just ignore it. Move past. Now, what did you think of, I'm checking her name. I knew it was Harriet Spelling, but I just didn't want to do her disservice and get her name wrong. Isn't she fantastic? Wow, Peter Phillips, they're getting cozy. Their first sort of public outing was about a year ago. There she is performing a perfect curtsy. She's a pediatric nurse and she also works in pediatrics emergency. So immediately I'm just full of admiration for the woman. I mean, anyone that does that sort of work. I've had occasion to take back long time ago when I was a young mum. I had an occasion of a very serious incident with my son, and we were in pediatric emergency and attended by probably a nurse very similar to her. And I will be forever grateful because it was directly due to the actions of the pediatric team that I still have a son. So, full of admiration. She looks an absolutely beautiful woman. I'm happy about that. I think that's great. Also, Lady Gabriella Windsor now she's known as, because of course we know back in 2024 she lost her husband, Thomas Kingston. And that's heartbreaking. And I love her. They, of course, the royal family all call her Ella. And just a little reminder for those that don't know, she's the second cousin of King Charles III. And yes, so wouldn't you love to see Ella actually fall in love again? Wouldn't you love? I know that would be really insulting to her because obviously she would still be mourning her husband. But I just mean in the future, a bit down the track, never forget your husband that you loved. But wouldn't it be lovely for my romantic heart that she found happiness once more with a suitable partner who was really lovely, that she could have fun with and romance with and all that? I would just love there to be a happy ending for her. I really would. I want a happy ending for everyone, really. Also, we have Princess Beatrice, and that's obviously still in love. Obviously still in love. That's a nice smile. She looked gorgeous, actually. Look at that carriage shot. Beautiful. She really did look absolutely wonderful. So that was lovely. Then we got Zara. There's my girl Zara. I love Zara. Love Mike Tyndall. Didn't she look fabulous? That blue outfit is actually what she wore for the Magic Millions on the Gold Coast when they were out here. So that was a rewear. But it's lovely, isn't it? She looks fantastic. And I always love the black and white for Ascot. I love it because it's so My Fair Lady, isn't it? It's just absolutely gorgeous. And what else have I got to show you? This. Johnny Thompson and his new wife, Olivia, talking to Zara and Mike Tyndall. They're looking very friendly, getting on very well. Makes you think, are they sort of like friends, couple, because we know that equerries can be friends very definitely with the royal family. I mean, let's face it, the Princess Royal actually married Tim Lawrence and he was a royal equerry. So, they can mix very definitely. And it makes you wonder whether they're mates, whether they go around to Princess Anne's estate. And of course, Zara and Mike Tyndall live on the estate, don't they? But in their own home. Be interesting. But doesn't Johnny Thompson's bride look absolutely stunning in that shot? She looks so good. And Johnny Thompson looks all right too. A lot of men look good in a top hat, don't they? They do. They look very distinguished. It's lovely. You know what I would love? I've never had a man take off his top hat and actually bow to me. Not in real life. I've had it happen in a play. In a school play. It wasn't the same thing. I would love that to happen. It would be just wonderful. I would adore it. And of course, we have the Spencer twins, Lady Eliza Spencer and Lady Amelia Spencer, and they wore twinsy sort of outfits. Now, what do you think about that? I'm not a fan. We've got twins in our family, and everyone's a little bit like, wearing the same clothes past the age of 5, no. Bit cringy. I didn't like it. I thought it was a bit twee. Yeah, I mean, they both look fantastic, and they're wearing my Royal Ascot black and white that I said was, the desired look that I loved. But not so sure about the matching twinsy outfits. I'm going to scroll down because I have babbled on. I've given you a chance this is a good point. This is a good point from Dorothy Grace. The late Queen had to get Netflix off the balcony. Dorothy, I forgot all about that. That was the extra pressure. That was the extra sort of, yes, you're right. You're right. Now, this is another good point from Kathy Duval. Why does everyone still support Invictus? It's a total ripoff. Yes. There are aspects of that I think you're absolutely 100% on the money. There's another aspects of that, though, where isn't it always the case that when things are not run as we feel that they should be, that there's always innocent people that pay the price? And also, I don't think that the athletes are, supported enough as far as accommodation goes, as far as their family being able to attend. I don't think that there's enough growth when it comes to actual athletes. If you look at the figures, and I don't know how fudged these are, but apparently the spectators, because they're shipping people in from schools and they're, bringing busloads in and things like that apparently the actual spectator number is rising, supposedly. How much of that is organic? I'm skeptical. However, the athlete numbers are not really going up. They've been around the 500 mark for a long time now. So, yep, I'll take your comment on board, Kathy. Now I'm just going to scroll down, just seeing. You people are just so good. You should be advisors to the palace. You come up with these brilliant ideas. Patricia, the royal family could record a video message like Henry did for the Diana Awards. You are so good. I wouldn't want to come up against any of you. That's brilliant. So we've had the Princess Royal idea and we've had that royal, yes, video message up on the big screen. Aren't you clever? You should all be advisors for the palace, I think. That's just brilliant. And this is another opinion from Camellia Wilkes. Take the Invictus Games away from Harry, replace him with Sir David Beckham or Mike Tyndall. I get what you're saying and very popular choices, but I think you would have to have a veteran, wouldn't you? But I've always thought that you could have an honorary celebrity patron for each games. And so one year it would be David Beckham in line with a veteran, that the veteran is sort of the lead veteran of the games, and they get all that sort of attention for the full year and they get to do interviews and stuff, but they are supported by the celebrity that was, gifted the honor of being a patron, the celebrity patron for the Invictus Games for a year. So the celebrity has the razzmatazz and the veteran has the, the serious real role. But I think that would work, like a sort of a duo situation. I think that could work very, very well, and they could sort of bounce off each other. And I think it would make it more enjoyable for the veteran that got chosen. They could probably have a lovely time with the celebrity of their choice. Okay. All right. Oh, see, I always pick up the same comments, don't I? Everyone, but I'll read it out. I think KC3 and Prince William need to stay away from the Invictus Games, King Charles III. Yep. Okay. Well, a lot of people are saying how is it possible that Birmingham can actually afford the games? A lot of people are saying that. I like this comment from Posh Lady. They need 3-year-old Charlotte's confidence to say, "You're not coming." Thing is, Charlotte would be too polite. She's just so well brought up and so diplomatic. She would just be absolutely perfect. I think your more sort of sneaky suggestions are clever. I think they might have to be a little bit more sneaky. I think I might have to forward these to the team at Buckingham Palace, because I think you've really nailed it with the more of the sneaky suggestions. Now, talking about the Princess Royal, I had to put her in because this is her arriving, right? But look at the joy on her face when she's in front of a horse. Look at it. And that's what Prince Philip said. What did he say? If it doesn't have a mane and it's not stamping his foot and neighing, she's not interested. Yeah. Oh, look. She's just pure joy. She just loves them, doesn't she? She just absolutely adores them. It's just so wonderful. And this I wanted to bring up. I hope Taz doesn't get cross at me. Now, Taz, don't worry if you're watching. I'm not going to show who you were there with, because I know that will be your own video and your own thing. But I just wanted to show how beautiful she looked. Taz is going to come on with me this week. We've finally sorted out all the internet and the whole thing and everything. And she's going to come on with me this Thursday. We're going to do a little trial run and check that everything's working. If everything works, she'll be on with me this Thursday. If everything doesn't work, I'll be on my own. Looking really sad, but we are cranking up again. We're going to crank up again for the second half of the year, so that will be exciting. I've missed her so much, but there she was at Royal Ascot, looking absolutely divine. I love her hat, I love her fan, I love her dress, but I won't show you the full thing because that's for her. She can show you on her videos. I don't want to steal her thunder, but it looked like she had an absolutely marvelous time. Now, this was a comment on X which I thought made a fair point, and it was about the balcony thing that I actually brought up at the top of the show. And this is from Sandra Blackcat. She said, perhaps at a time of economic hardship as king of the land, he might only want to put on the balcony those fully dedicated to public service. And she points out, with the world on the brink with wars breaking out and peace out of reach, it might be too much let them eat cake if there was, that was her attitude. And I thought that was a fair point. My counter to that, and you don't have to agree, it's just what I thought, that it's a little dour and dutiful. I found the last Trooping the Colour, I mean, the kids are wonderful and they ignite, but I feel like there's just so much pressure now on the Waleses to be the dynamic ones and to be the glamorous ones, particularly Catherine and William as far as glamour goes, particularly the children for the cute factor. And I just think it's a lot to ask of one family. I think it's just... it's almost like a really heavy burden. Well, to me, I think it is. And I said here, messy, boisterous family is less let them eat cake than aloof, sparse and boring, which is probably a bit of hyperbole. I mean, it's not aloof, sparse and boring, but I just, yeah, like I said, I had that yearning. I had that yearning for something a little bit more dynamic. I did. Okay, to finish off the show, let's have a look at those dirty feet. What do you reckon? I could not unsee them. Once I got them up, I could not unsee them. Who is doing her photographs for her website? I know you don't care, but it just really did strike me. And you know what? I actually put this up as a slide. I had no filter on, and they were actually darker than that. And I thought people would think that I was photoshopping or being nasty or deliberately making the bottoms of her feet look darker than they really were. So that's got a lighter filter on it. I put a lighter filter on to not be mean. That's what I did. So that's actually got a filter on it. But they still look, scrub your feet, love. Go and hop in the bath, scrub your feet before the photo shoot, and then wear shoes across the lawn and then get your photograph taken. A lot of people also said that it was I think it was Megan's Mole said that it was not a good look because, of course, they're a Patrons of Parent Network, which you know what all that is about. And, I won't go into it because YouTube may sort of shadow ban this video if I say, but it's, very sad circumstances of children losing their lives in tragic circumstances. And that Megan's Mole made the point that is quite triggering. That image is quite triggering. And I think she had a point. I really do. I think she had a point. Okay, going on to the crepes. Now, I just think that it's a little bit, I was going to say trailer trashy, but that's really snobby, isn't it? But the fact to say French style, on a box of crepe mix, crepes in a box. I just think, and you know what? She is getting bad advice, and I know we don't care. Keep getting the bad advice, Megan, but honestly, her whole thing with Love Megan was fresh produce from her garden and, sort of this simple, clean food. That was the whole premise of the show, right? And then you get this ultra-processed food in a box. And it's such a simple thing to make. Eggs, milk, flour. And you can add whatever else you want. A real vanilla bean, maybe. It's not hard. It's not hard to make pancakes. It's something that you make when you're 6 or 7, up on a stool with a kitchen bench with your mum. It's not hard. Who makes pancakes out of a packet mix? Really? Who does in this day and age? We're not living in the 1970s. And I just thought it was completely off-brand. Her whole brand is clean living, and people are really aware of artificial ingredients and additives and things that make things in a packet live a long, long, long time on a shelf. And they don't want them in their body. I mean, there's a real movement against it now, particularly in the USA. There's a real movement against ultra, processed food, which is great. Good on them. And Australia, very much so. And I don't know about the UK. You'll have to let me know in the UK. But, yeah, people aren't into all that sort of additives and anti-mold stuff and all that. They're not into that. And then, getting back to the photograph, I've got my indignant voice on. this, the rosé, and implying that she's almost got a vineyard somewhere, and maybe that's why she's got dirty bottoms of the feet. Maybe she was stamping on the grapes. That's what it was. She was stamping the grapes for the rosé. That's what it was. She actually had grape stains on the bottom of her feet. Now, would you buy a wine that had been personally stamped by the Duchess? Would you? Anyway, she's obviously ducked down to their pool, chucked a bit of material down, put some, are they apricots or kumquats? Oh, God, the setup of this shot is just so bad. It is really, really bad, and it's out of focus. The glasses don't look crisp at all. You can't even read the label. It looks so boring. It's so bad. What are they doing? I mean, who took these shots? They're so unprofessional. It looks like they were taken with an iPhone an afternoon down by the pool, and looks like they'd had a few. Honestly, it's just the worst. And can you imagine the money that has gone into this, and you get lackluster, really bad things like that? The other thing I was going to finish off with was, the supposed selling out, which I know every other YouTuber's already spoken about, so I'm not going to bore you silly. But I had an e-commerce shop for 14 years, and I sold vintage books, and it was my main job for those 14 years. And you can sort of set limits. Like, I had occasions where I would be lucky enough to get an old print run from a publisher that was actually published back in the 1980s. So it would be a vintage print run of a book. And often, if they were first editions, it might bring me in quite a bit of money. And so what I would do, because I wouldn't want another bookseller to actually buy them all and then sell them on their bookstore site for more money. So I'd try to circumvent that. So what I would do is I would limit the amount that each seller could, or each buyer could, put in their cart. And a lot of people, I think it's Royal Daily Tea, I've never seen her channel, and I'm not endorsing her, and I don't know anything about her, but she had a clever post on X where she said that she'd gone into the website and she'd tried to order 50 of something, and that it came up that there was no ability to put that in her cart. So she said that proved that they hardly had any stock. But then I thought back to my e-commerce days, and I said, yes, that is a little bit flawed, because they may have set limits on how many people could put in their cart. So who knows? But, it just makes you tired. Just makes you tired. I'm going to go to some comments. I'm going to scroll down so I get some new people. And this is from SS. Women and Catherine should arrive late while Meghan is giving... Yes, like the Oprah Winfrey moment. That would be absolutely brilliant. And it says, oh, gee, you're all brilliant. I'm glad you're not up against me. I'll just tell you that, because you really are forced to be reckoned with. Final comment, because I've got to go. 47 minutes. I've blabbed on too long. Jay Gatsby. Agree with you, Shauna. The balcony looks desolate with just the working royals. Bring them all out. And, H&M's and the media's feelings. Well, there is that. Thank you for your comment. And thanks everyone for joining me. I'm going to read all your comments. I will leave them up for everyone that watches this on replay. I'm going to have a cup of coffee and I'm going to sit down and read everything that you said, because I'm so busy when it's happening that I miss out on all the fun. Okay, I'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm not going to try and click off without my glasses on. I'll do something weird. Oh, I wanted to show you something before I go. I always forget to do all the boring YouTubey stuff, like subscribe, and I'm not going to do it, don't worry. But I discovered this bit of tech. Look at this. Do you love it? Isn't that high tech and amazing? I'm learning finally how to use StreamYard. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll see you again, hopefully Thursday night, with Taz in tow. Okay, bye everyone. See you. Thanks for joining me. Bye.